All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris. This is my channel, We Love Comics. And today, I am doing the 4 books that I will be sending in to PGX to get graded. I will tell you the significance of the book, what I paid for them at the time I purchased them, what I predict the grades will be. And then, in about 2.5 months, I will get these back. PGX has had a delay in returning books, and my set that I sent like 2 months ago won't be ready until mid to late December. All things considered, I cannot complain, because even with that delay, it's still faster than most other companies without having to spend extra money on fast tracks. And even with that, I'll still probably get these back. So, with full disclosure, while I'm waiting for people to come in, I do not have any contracts signed with PGX, so I am under no obligation to say anything other than my own personal experience. Keep that in mind. What I talk about when it comes to PGX may or may not be your own experience. I can only share my experience. Whether that resonates with you or not, that is always up to you. But like I said, they did not require me to sign any contracts, so I am not like most YouTubers out there who make agreements with companies. They have to sign contracts, and then they're obligated to kind of reduce any negativity, and at the very least, but at the best, praise the companies. And I'm only going to do that if they deserve it. And if you've been watching my videos, I have been doing this every month for going on 5 years now, and the owner of the company has watched my videos. We've talked on the phone numerous amounts of times. He's never once tried to stifle me with what I say, never tried to put his 2 cents into what I should say or what I should talk about. He's given me 100% freedom, and I love that. Now, my experience with them has been overall really well. If you watch all of my videos, I have them up. You could watch them, like I said, going back 4 or 5 years, every month since I used to live in New York. Not one comic has ever been brought back damaged. In other words, no cracked cases or anything. The grades overall, I would say, were 95% accurate. There were a few that I questioned, and rightfully so, and that's going to happen with any company. But overall, if you watch my videos and my predictions, I'm usually pretty spot on with the grades over the years. So, to make sure you guys get something out of this, because obviously PGX gets the advertisements, and if you look in the description of this video, you will see links to their website. If you've never tried PGX, give them a try. They are the most economical of the 3 major grading companies. They are the fastest. Their cases, like I said, I have a couple of CGC cases that cracked just from when I moved here. I've never had a PGX case ever crack. Now, obviously, I'm not going around dropping them or anything like that, but when I moved, 2 of my CGC cases cracked just by moving, and I was very careful with my comics. So they have, in my opinion, they might not be the nicest looking cases, but they seem to be the sturdiest. They also do in-house pressings and dry cleanings. Thanks to my advice that I gave to Daniel Patterson, the owner of PGX, you can get the grader's notes placed on the back of the slab if you want for a $5 fee. But I also wanted to make sure I made some kind of benefit for you, because it gives them advertisement, gives me the chance to send in 4 books to get pressed, dry cleaned, signature verification if I need it, for free. I pay for the shipping, obviously. And for you guys, if you look in the link in the in the description of this video, if you send 10 books or more to PGX and use the code We Love Comics Free Press, they will allow you to press one of your books, your choice, for absolutely free. So depending on the book, whether it's a modern or a golden age book, you could save at least $20 to $30 just on that pressing. And I always recommend to people, get your books pressed and dry cleaned, which they do in-house, which means less packaging and repackaging books, less chance of them getting lost shipping to other departments. It's all in-house, makes things a lot more convenient. And again, that's my opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you. All I can do is share my experience. So check out the description. You'll see all that information, and also other things that I have special-wise. Click those and you can get some discounts, because I like to provide things for you guys. And let's go over the 4 books I'm sending this month. So let's put on the video camera. And yes, as you can see, shaved my head again. I actually was one point trying to see how long my hair would go. And I was born with curly hair. And if you have curly hair, you know it will go out before it goes down. And I got to that point, and I'm like, you know what? I just can't do it anymore. So I shaved it all off. And I like it this way. You know, and I'm sure you guys could care less because, you know, this isn't a fashion show or anything. So let's show the 4 books. I will tell you the significance of the book, the price I paid for it, what I think the grade will be. Now, keep in mind, when I make my predictions for the grade, I'm basing on what I think it will be after pressing and dry cleaning. So I tend to be a little bit lower most of the time with my grades because I would rather, if I'm going to be wrong, I'd rather be surprised than, like, if I said a book's 5.0, I'd rather be wrong and it ends up a 5.5 than being wrong and it ends up a 4.5. I mean, I don't care either way, because to me, I've bought these so many years ago. Obviously, I didn't buy them when they came out, but I always look for deals, wait for deals, and I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter the market, it doesn't matter the value of any collection at that point, whether it's too high or out of your price range. There are always deals to be found. You could make deals, you could wait for deals, they're always there. They're not there if you don't look for them. So if you give up, you're not going to find them. And I've shown many times, like for example, one of my books that I sold a couple of years ago in one of my auctions, Fantastic Four 52, First Appearance of Black Panther. I got one of those books the month when the first Black Panther movie was about to air and go live in the movie theater. I bought what ended up being, I believe, a 5.0. I paid about $198 for it. And that was a month before the movie was coming out. And they made a huge deal about that first Black Panther movie. So there are always deals out there. I get people all the time saying, is this the right time to buy? Should I wait? Look for an opportunity. If you see something that's too expensive, don't impulse buy and say, I have to have it. You can always wait. Now, sometimes waiting, you could miss out on a deal and it can skyrocket. That's the chance you got to take. But you never know. There are dips to be found. So a lot of these books are key books, and I was telling people years ago to buy them. That's why people say, you know, Chris, how come you don't make any more videos about predictions of comics? Well, I was ahead of the curve. A lot of videos that people are putting out just this week are videos I made 5 years ago, telling you to buy the same books I've been telling people for 5 years ago to buy. Where you could have bought a book for $20, now you're going to spend $500, and people are buying them. But there's always deals out there. So no matter what the grades are for these books, I am going to quote-unquote make money when I sell them. Because I bought them before the hype, knew the hype was going to eventually come, and because comic books are not like milk, they don't expire in 2 weeks, I can buy the book cheap, sit on it for a couple of years, and wait for that moment that I knew was coming to happen. You have to have patience in this game, and there's also fluctuations. Sometimes prices are going to go up, and sometimes they're going to go down. The idea is not to panic when something at a certain level goes down, because if it's especially a key issue or something that's valuable as far as collections are concerned, it can go back up again, and sometimes shoot up even higher. So I see my computer has frozen. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get into it. You guys know I always like to do a little rant. 4 people out of the 9 are liking this video, so thank you to the 4 people kind enough to hit that like button. GT Key Comic is here. Good to see you. Noah Burke is here. Jeshua Perez in the live chat. Thank you so much for being here. And let's show the book. So like I said, I'm going to base my grades on what I think they're going to be after a pressing and dry cleaning. So especially with this book, it's going to be a little bit harder because this is a thicker book. Now, I have one of these that I sent in about 2 months ago, I believe 2 or 3 months ago. And I have one more of this book. Like I said, the price I paid for this, it won't matter what the grade is. But this is definitely a book to get if you haven't gotten it yet. This is Fantastic Four Annual Number 2. This is the origin of Doctor Doom. Now, we already know Doctor Doom is going to end up in the MCU. Let's hope they don't turn him into some kind of character who he's not meant to be. I'll just leave it at that. You can take from that whatever you want. I don't think they're going to ruin somebody this popular, just like they haven't ruined Spider-Man. They're bigger characters, You know, they're not going to go over the deep end like they've done with some of the characters they've been doing lately. If you like that stuff, you know, hey, you know, as they say, to each their own. But I think they're going to do this character justice. We'll see. But even if they ruin him in the movies, this is an iconic character. Not going to go away. And because he's an iconic character who's not going to go away, even if the movies destroy him, I mean, look what they did to Thor in the last movie. You know, go find the first appearance of Thor for $50. You're not even going to find a page of that book for $50. So yes, a movie can decline the book's value a little bit temporarily, but it ain't going to go from a $10,000 book to a $500 book, because these are key characters. Now, because this is an iconic character, his first appearance, which is in Fantastic Four number 5, even at a 2.0, you're spending, what is it, like I think $4,000 to $5,000 now? It's out of the price range of many people. So this is a book I would highly recommend that is still fairly affordable, but it's starting to get close to that unobtainium realm for many people. But again, deals are always out there. I bought this about 3 or 4 years ago, right after the Fox Fantastic Four movie flopped. I was buying a lot of Fantastic Four books because while everybody else was panic selling and getting rid of them and lowering the price, I was buying them up. I mean, I have about 5 copies of Fantastic Four number 48, all bought after the Fox movie was so horrible that people were just giving the books away. I didn't spend more than $350 for any of them. Some of them I spent $200 on. So this book, I spent a grand total of $39.30 for. It's not a 9.8 by any means. This is a lower grade book, but it does have some wrinkles. It's one of those, as you can see, 72 pages. So this is a square bound book. It is pretty thick, so it's going to be harder to press a book like this, but it doesn't really need a well, I can't say that because it does have some wrinkling. Now, the good thing about wrinkles is pressing is absolutely going to help that stuff because it does not have color breaks, and it has some dirt on it, so the dry cleaning is going to help improve this book. So I tell people all the time, get your books pressed and dry cleaned, because the difference between a 0.5 difference sometimes could be hundreds of dollars. And there are times you can have like a lot of wrinkling that doesn't break color that can bring a book up 2-3 grades. I've seen it on other videos, not just on mine. I've seen it on many others. So I am predicting this book to be about a 2.5 to a 3.5. So again, lower grade, but I've said it so many times, low grade is better than no grade. And again, for $39.30, this could be a 0.5 and I'm going to do well. But it's not a 0.5. So again, Fantastic Four Annual number 2, 1964 Silver Age book. Back in the days, you could buy it for 25 cents. But I'm not going to complain for spending under $40 for that book. Definitely pick that up if you can. All right. This is the one that has potentially a 9.8 grade coming. Now, that's never guaranteed. So I'm going to say between a 9.6 and a 9.8. But this is a beautiful book. And for the price I paid for this, I am amazed. But again, I was buying these when the Fox deals were going, and they were rumors that they were selling. I had inside information saying it was going to happen. They just couldn't talk about it because when you're involved with a company, there's a thing called stocks and stockholders. And you cannot, until a document is officially signed, you cannot talk about rumors or even confirm rumors because that could be considered inside trading because it can influence the stocks. Like if you owned stock in Fox, and they were giving rumors, yeah, we were thinking about selling, all of a sudden the value of your stocks could drop. As a shareholder, you're going to be pretty upset about that, especially if those rumors end up not happening. So companies, until the moment they sign a deal, will deny everything. But because I had inside information from people that I trusted, they told me it was going to happen. So I was buying these books before most people were, and I was telling people to buy them before most were. A lot of people are laughing at me for it, but as they say, he who laughs last laughs best. So, this, another book I highly recommend because Hulk 180 and Hulk 181 are starting to get up there. Now, you could still get a Hulk 180 for pretty decent prices in mid to lower grade, but I mean, good luck getting a 0.5 Hulk 181 for under $1,000 at this point. This is Wolverine's first solo story. It's a limited series. It was issues 1 through 4. This book is gorgeous. I looked on the back. It's completely white. There is no crease. The edges are sharp. There isn't even a dog ear here at all. So I'm going to say 9.6 to 9.8, but this has 9.8 potential. I opened the book. It looks like this book was never read. Now, somebody trying to buy a raw copy of this and somebody selling it between a 9.6 and 9.8, good luck finding it under $500. I paid a grand total of $17.50 for this book. But I bought it years ago, and I was telling people to buy it years ago. But because most people base things on emotion, energy and motion, and they do what other people do, which makes them a follower, not a leader, most people were not buying this book when the Fox rumors were going around because they said, oh, the book's going to go down. And they did go down temporarily. You think you're going to find a 9.6, 9.8 potential of this book for under $500? You got to think smarter. Don't always follow what everybody else does. That's why you only need one sheep herder to rally in a bunch of sheep. And where do most sheep get sent? They get sent to the slaughter. So don't be a follower. Be a leader. And like I said, for years, I had people mocking me time and time again. And, you know, you could go by what other people say, or you can go by what you do. By their deeds you shall know them. And that's why I have all my videos up since I started years ago. I had my original channel that I shut down. Nothing I can do about that. But I've been trying to help people for years. And I still have videos that are still relevant to this day that I did 4 or 5 years ago because I was so ahead of the curve. But like I said, I paid $17.50 for this book. I'm saying it's a potential 9.8. Now, the other book, I forgot the pages. I said about off-white pages. This is definitely off-white to white pages. But I'm going to say white pages because I'm not always good at that. So let's try white and we'll see if I get it right. Unintentional rhyme. But this is a book to get even in mid-grade. They do have the newsstand variants, what makes it even more valuable, especially at higher grade. But this is not a newsstand variant. I'd be awesome if it was. But for $17.50, not going to complain. That book could come back a 1.0, and I would do well. But it's definitely not going to be a 1.0. Another book I highly recommend. I had 2 copies of this. I sent one in a couple of months ago. So I'm sending in the second one for the book. It looks pretty decent. Love the colors of this book. Definitely a major first appearance. This is X-Men issue number 12, which is the first appearance of the Juggernaut. Very vibrant colors. It's got some little, color breaks here and there. There's a couple white lines, maybe about 2 to 3 inches in some spots. But other than that, there's a little bit of a rounding on the top and bottom corners, but not anything bad. I don't see any tears. But as you can see, the colors definitely pop. Again, a book I bought a couple years ago because all the Fox properties, because of those rumors, people were selling them, like it was water in a desert, and the prices were shooting down. And that, to me, is a buying opportunity that many people missed out on because they go based on other people's fear of, look, you're losing money. Well, what goes down can go back up. You will not find this for $161, probably even on a 1.0 or a 0.5. Now, this is definitely not that grade. I'd say it's about a mid-grade. I'm going to say after pressing and dry cleaning, probably about a 5.0 to a 5.5. It could potentially hit a 6.0, but I don't want to go that high. Off-white to white pages. That book will do quite well if it gets in that range. That's probably about a $1,000 book in that grade. Now, if they get the X-Men going and they don't destroy them, which I hope they won't, but you never know these days. But just when they make the official announcements and start seeing trailers of the X-Men, unless it's so horrible people just run away, this book is going to continue to go up. It's an early X-Men book. There's not a lot of major key issues in the beginning X-Men books. Obviously, X-Men #1, but there's not a lot of significance. I mean, X-Men #3 is the first appearance of Blob, but he's not a major character. This is the first, other than Magneto in the beginning and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, which was in X-Men 4. This is one of the only significant key issues in the early run of X-Men. And, you know, X-Men was not well received back when it came out and almost ended up going into reprints and getting canceled until, you know, Chris Claremont came along and revitalized them and created the new X-Men. But you're still not going to go wrong with books like this. First Juggernaut, I seriously doubt they're never going to use him again. It's too much of an iconic character. But like I said, for $161, I'm going to do very fine with that. All right, last but not least, this is the most expensive copy of this book I've bought. I probably have about 8 or 9 copies after I've sold a couple. This was a book, again, with the Fox merger. Well, before the Fox merger with Disney. And they were rumoring, I was telling people to buy this. After the Fantastic Four movie, I knew this was going to clean house. So this is my last book I have of this that has not been graded yet. So, did we save the best for last? I doubt it, but again, this is the most expensive I paid for this book. The average price I paid for this book was about $95. I've spent $45 on 2 of them. I spent $205, which is still a good price for this book. Fantastic Four number 49. This is my last copy that I have raw. All my other copies have been graded, and I've probably sold about 4 or 5 of them in the past 2 years, and still have probably about 8 of them left, because I was buying these up because I knew that this book was going to be worth something. I wish I would have bought more of the 48s, but I think I have 3 or 4. One of them is a restored book that somebody put gloss over it. But even with that, it's still going to do well. But I paid $205. It's the most expensive of these books that I bought. But it's about a mid-range book because it does have some wrinkles, which a pressing is going to help. For a book that's mostly black, there's a little bit of color loss on the bottom. Barely, you could see. There's a little bit more color loss on this corner, but not major amounts. You can see it's just the tip. And a little color loss. I don't know if you'll even see it. Right there. So, there is a little bit of an indent along the spine, but that could be pressed out, no problem. But as you can see, the colors are very vibrant. There's no tears. There's no, stains as far as least I could see. And I think this one will be about between a 4.5 and a 5.5. Overall, it's a book you cannot go wrong with. Fantastic Four is coming, Galactus is coming, Silver Surfer is coming. So, it just, to me, is a no-brainer. Off-white to white pages. So, even at $205, I'm still going to do incredibly well. Because, again, I don't base things on the prices of where they are. I don't base them on the prices of where they're going. Where they've been. I base prices on where I think they're going. Most people are too much focused in the now when it comes to investing. Now, focusing on the now is great for yourself in your personal life. You should always live in the now. You should never live in the past. You should never live into the future. Because then you're forgetting who you are at the moment. But when it comes to investing, you can't live in the now. Except for when you could buy something. But you have to invest in, where is this collectible or investment, no matter what it is, whether it's stocks, whether it's stamps, whether it's coins, whether it's comics, whether it's cars, whether it's sneakers. You have to say to yourself, in 5 to 10 years, where will this thing be, price-wise? Will it still be where I paid? Will it drop? Or is there potential from inside information or knowing where things are going that it has the potential to go up? So you have to pay attention to these things. Agu says, miss the New York weather? Not a chance. I am so glad I moved to Florida. All I do is wear t-shirts and shorts 98% of the year. Right now it is currently in the mid-70s, and it's almost December. I never thought I would leave New York, even though I used to kid around and say when I was a teenager and in my 20s, I'll someday end up in Florida. Now that I'm here, I would never go back to New York. To me, Florida is the freest place in the world at this point. I'm sure many people in Florida will agree. But yeah, I don't miss the New York weather at all. You cannot shovel sunshine. All right, and your pipes definitely don't freeze. And in New York, I had that happen. My water pipes froze, and it flooded my living room, which was not a cheap endeavor, let me tell you. But pipes don't freeze here because here where I live in the Tampa area, I don't think they've ever experienced snow ever. I think they had a puddle freeze once. But other than that, they've never seen snow. And I hope I never see it again. But let me see if there's a couple people. Jordan says, "Hey, Chris, are you buying the crypto dip right now?" I don't really have the disposable income to be buying that stuff, but it is one incredible dip. So, it's, again, that's that time to buy. But it's hard to say when it comes to cryptos because it's manipulated in ways that people don't think. And I was warning people about that years ago. You know, they want a digital currency because governments want to be able to trace whatever you do. So just imagine if they got rid of cash and the whole world said everything is now digital. Well, that means if you have a lemonade stand, if you have a yard sale, if you have a friend who owes you money, it's now registered, which means it's taxable. If you know the word under the table, it means that technically you're doing something illegal where you're working off the books or under the table where somebody might pay you cash to do a job. Or if you have a yard sale, you're just getting cash for the things that you sell. Well, with an all digital currency, now your yard sales, they're going to get taxes from you. It's a way to steal your wealth. But they use the convenience of it and the pressure from other people to make you feel like this is a necessary modern thing. All it is a way to steal more money from you and no way to escape. So I would be very careful about investing too much in digital currencies because it's like drilling a hole into your own boat in the middle of the ocean. You know, if somebody's paying you to drill that hole, you might make some good money for a while you're doing it, but eventually you reach the bottom of that boat and the water starts leaking in, and the person that was paying you to do it is no longer there to be found. And now your boat's sinking and you caused it. So be very careful about that stuff. You have to think, like I always do with investments, I think long term. So when I see things, even when I had 7 full Bitcoins back when they were worth about $50 a piece. Matter of fact, 2 of those 7 people gave to me. And I sold them at $100. Now people say, oh, you're crazy. Nobody back then, when it was going from 40 to 90 to 6 to 30 to 10 to 50 to 5 to 30, nobody thought that years later it would go up to $60,000. But even back then, and I still do not regret it because I saw what happens, what the purpose of that was. It was to make everybody get used to something that's convenient, that is easy, but it's not as safe as people think. You know, I also had 100 Litecoins that I bought at $1 a piece. Well, unfortunately, because 5 years later, my computer, I didn't remember the password. I had no access to it. I even had my cousin, who was a police officer, use their police technology to try and crack in and try and decipher the code. Couldn't do it. So they were gone forever, never to be seen again. So if you have a computer and all of a sudden the computer blows up or you don't remember your password, it's gone forever. I know people that have lost millions of dollars of Bitcoins because they didn't remember their password or they threw them out or whatever. But the point is, when it comes to that kind of stuff, you have to think the long game. You have to think, why is somebody doing something? And there's an old expression that says, if something's too good to be true, it usually is. So yes, digital currencies do seem nice. And yes, you can make a lot of money, but at the expense of selling out your future. Because if all of a sudden one day every country in the world says, well, we've all agreed on one digital currency for the world. Oh, that's going to be very uniting. They're going to tell you the positives. It's going to be very convenient. You could now be in California and buy something from, Singapore and have it delivered to you just by using a digital currency. But the problem is every single transaction you will ever do will now be monitored, so they will know where you are, what you're doing, what you're buying, and tax you on it. So a little girl that has a lemonade stand will now have to pay taxes on the revenue that she gets from the lemonade stand. You have a garage sale. You have one of your Facebook comic book auctions. When you pay by digital currency, it's now traceable. It is now taxable. They will fine people. So you got to think other than the moment. Because that's one of the reasons why I don't even make videos on either one of my channels anymore. Because to be perfectly honest, and most people are not going to care about this stuff, so anybody that signs off at this point, I understand and everything, and I wish you all well, and I thank you for watching. But this is for the people who seem to love my rants. The world today is so worried about making themselves money that they are willing to lie, cheat, and fabricate lots of things just for fear of losing their ad revenue. Now, I have a Patreon account here, and I have a Patreon account on my other channel, Barn on 11970, which I haven't made a video in probably 8 months. I make about $8 in Patreon and about $10 in ad revenue from both channels combined. It was never and will never be about the money. I would rather have my integrity. That's why I like dealing with PGX. It's like I said, the owner of PGX has never called me and said, well, you know, we don't like the way you're talking. Could you give a more positive spin? Or we suggest you say these particular things. Or here's a list of things we want you to bullet point during your conversations. Or you said something about us a little too negative. Can you please change it? They've never once tried to stifle me in any way. And when I first made the agreement with them, because I've told people this before, I contacted CGC and CBCS at the time I contacted PGX. PGX was the only one that not only responded, but the owner of the company called me, and we spoke over the phone about it. And I said to him, it's like, I will be more than happy to promote your business. The only thing I'm saying is I will not sign a contract because I do not want to be stifled for my opinion, whether it goes for or against the company. Because then I'm not giving my subscribers anything genuine. And I see too many people on the line now that are more worried about their ad revenue than speaking the truth about certain things. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, but people are so afraid of losing their ad revenue that they are willing to look the other way, and people wonder why the world is getting the way it is and getting worse and worse and worse. I will not sell you guys out for my own personal deal. I do sell comics every now and then. I do auctions. The last one was about 4 or 5 months ago. And if you watch my auctions, you'll see all the time. I tell people during the auction, and I challenge anyone to point out another auction, not even just for comics, but any auction on YouTube, where during an auction they say, all right, I don't want you to overspend. I want you to go on eBay or other places and verify the price of what you're buying so you don't overspend it. I could easily let somebody get, like 2 people getting emotionally involved in the battle of wanting to win something and looking like everybody's cheering them on, saying, wow, he just bid 800. Wow, he just bid 900. I don't want people to go crazy because, yes, I could definitely use the money. I am not a rich person. Matter of fact, the past 2 years, I've gone in a downward spiral, but what goes down always comes up. So I'll work on that. But as much as I can use the money, I'm not going to take advantage of people. I'm not going to do that for my own personal gain. And too many people in this world are more caring about their ad revenue than their own integrity. And I even watch movie reviews. First of all, if you are one of those people that has a problem with the SJW movement, which I do, why would you spend your money on a company that you do not believe in just to review it? You know, the last movie that just came out from Disney, the Strange Worlds. I haven't seen it. I will never see it. Why do so many people have to do a review on a thing that they're morally outraged? Well, it says more for me not to do a review and not give them my money, because then they don't care if you don't like it when they already got your money. It makes no sense to me. I can imagine with all the YouTubers in the world that do movie reviews or just happen to do a movie review for that particular movie, it could have been 1/10 of the revenue that that movie made. More people probably were watching that movie to review it than to actually sit there and enjoy it. Well, to me, if I don't agree with a company and I just say negative things, but I continue to give them my money, they don't care. I have not gone to the movie theater since I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens. I am one of the biggest Star Wars fans in the world. I remember watching the original Star Wars in 1977 when I was 6 years old in the movie theater, at least 6 or 7 times. I knew when Star Wars came out, the original third movie in that trilogy was supposed to be called Revenge of the Jedi, before it was changed to Return of the Jedi. That's how much I knew about those movies. I knew that Darth Vader was the father of Luke Skywalker before the movie came out. I remember as a kid, and I think it was 1980, I remember waiting in line in the movie theater with my father after my parents got divorced, and I even told him on the line as we were going into that movie for the first time, the day that movie came out, and said, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. And when I saw The Force Awakens, and what a garbage movie that was, in my opinion, you could love it, and that's fine. I'm not here to judge you if you love something. Even dung beetles love crap. So you can have crap and still have somebody use it as a tool for survival or for enjoyment. So people have the right to their own opinions. The problem is these days, people will kill you because you might have a difference of opinion of something that they might love or they might hate and don't like the fact that you don't agree with them. Well, if you're true to yourself, you don't care what anybody else thinks. You only care about what you think. Now, I love all of you guys. I have no problem with PGX. Is PGX the best company in the world? No. Are they the worst company in the world? No. But I've had nothing but really positive overall. 98% of the time, I've had nothing but positive experiences. Like I said, there were maybe 5 or 6 times in the 5-year span of sending 4 books every month for 5 years where I questioned the grades. 2 of them I ripped out and sent to be regraded. But you could say that about any company. But you cannot go in with blinders and say one particular business can do no wrong, while another company always does everything wrong. That's just emotion and anger and jealousy instead of seeing things for what they are. I mean, I'll give you an example of the hypocrisy that's going on right now you may or may not know about. The whole Valencia scandal with doing inappropriate things with children. We'll leave it at that, because YouTube doesn't like truth, and I will be shocked if all of a sudden my video just stops working coincidentally. But Balenciaga or Lady Gaga, whatever the company's called, because I don't care, I wouldn't buy any of that pompous rubbish anyway, even if I had the money. They had a photo shoot having children holding things that were adult-oriented on a child's toy. If you know the definition of child pornography, that would fall under it, which would make it illegal. Now, you see these days with cancel culture, the Hollywood elites in the media and certain form politics in government, they'll cancel you for the simplest thing, even if you just disagree with them. And yet, people like, for example, Kim Kardashian, who is a employer, but works with Balenciaga, or like I said, I don't care to pronounce the name right, took 6 days to respond and is not going to give up all of the millions that they're making and saying, well, I'm going to reevaluate. Doing anything with a child in a sexual nature is absolutely disgusting. And people, there's a reason why if you ever go to jail and somebody finds out you did something inappropriate to a child, they're going to do a lot of inappropriate things to you. You are considered the lowest of the low when it comes to prison hierarchy. If you do inappropriate things to children, you're lucky if you make your sentence alive. But in this world, you don't hear, some of you probably have never heard about this thing, because the media is silent on it, Hollywood is silent on it, and people like Kim Kardashian are saying, well, I'm glad they took the advertisement down and they apologized. I'm going to reevaluate. Instead of saying, that's disgusting, it should not be promoted, and I don't care how much money they're paying me, I am severing ties because wrong is wrong. And somebody like that could make plenty of money elsewhere. But If you go on my channel, Barn on 11970, you'll see 7 or 8 years ago, I was warning people about Hollywood and the elites when it comes to children. And I was laughed at and criticized and called paranoid and everything, and I knew that kind of stuff was going on. And it goes deeper than most people think. But, you know, to change the world, you have to first have the world be revealed to you. By their deeds you shall know them, not by their words. Then you look at, like, a moron like Alyssa Milano, where she tweets to Elon Musk, who she considers a Nazi, because he's allowing free, open speech on Twitter, which any normal person would say is a good thing. She says, well, I sold my Tesla because I will not support, I'm just paraphrasing, but said I sold my Tesla or gave it away or whatever because I'm not going to support a white supremacist, because she considers him a white supremacist because he wants free speech on a platform, and buys a Volkswagen electric vehicle. Okay, so she's in the past, and other people have said Elon Musk is a Nazi because he believes in free speech, and buys a Volkswagen vehicle that was created by the Nazis and Hitler in World War II. This is the stupidity of the world that we're living in these days. She'll care more about her clout and people patting her on the back and the money she'll make from that, because she could probably write a book right now saying how much she hates free speech and how we're all Nazis because we disagree or we're supposedly not allowed to have an opinion. These people are going to make a heck of a lot of money. Kim Kardashian is going to make a heck of a lot of money looking the other way. Hollywood is just going to go on their merry way and just pretend this didn't happen. But if Donald Trump sneezed wrong and that sneeze happened to hit somebody that wasn't white, they would say he deliberately tried to poison them and he's a Nazi that should be fired and murdered. Of course, that's an extreme. But you see the world that we're living in. And the reason the world is the way it is the good people in the world are too afraid to stand up. And that's why you have, if you want to succeed in this world, one of the things I said on my video back in 2012 in Barn on 11970, my other channel, people say, oh, how do you get out of the matrix? How do you survive this world? Well, you have to become financially independent. In other words, you don't work a 9-to-5 job where somebody else can shut you down and cancel you and fire you and tell you what to do. I'm not the wealthiest man, like I've said. As a matter of fact, I'm not wealthy at all. There are times I'll be lucky if I have $500 in my bank account on a regular basis. But I will always get things done because when I need to turn around and have some income, I can sell these things that I bought at ridiculously low prices because I paid attention to where the market was going. You that guys and girls that have been following me for years know that the reason I was able to move from New York to Florida was because of my comics. I needed to come up with a certain amount, I think it was about $20,000 to $30,000 within 3 months. I came up with half of it in one day, doing an auction the day I realized I was going to move to Florida. Now, I didn't make all of it myself. My wife contributed a little bit. My mother helped with about $5,000 to $8,000 of it. But the majority of that money came from me selling comic books to buy this house. Now, I'm not living in Trump Towers. I'm not living in some plush estate. It's a very cheap home that I'm living in. But this is not my forever home. And it's going to end up being somewhere better with some of the bigger books that I will be selling. But I don't have a boss telling me when I have to do things. I can stay at home with my wife and take care of 25 to 28 stray cats outside. Matter of fact, we have one of the stray cats in one of our other rooms because it had a thyroid problem, and my wife was kind enough to spend $2,000 to get it a radioactive iodine treatment to save its life. And I'm about to take another kitten that's only 8 months old that looks like it might have liver failure to either try and save its life or put it out of its misery. I don't want to put it out of its misery if I don't have to. But if you have liver failure, or it's kidney failure, if she has kidney failure, basically because she's stopping eating and she's only drinking water, which means if it's what I think it is, she'll have days to live and she'll starve to death and suffer. But I would spend my own money that I have to make sure, at least if I have to end the life, she will go peacefully. Most people don't want to do the right thing anymore. Most people want to look the other way. As a matter of fact, in the neighborhood, the reason why I'm spending all of my money, which is about 60 cans of cat food every 3 days, feeding all of these cats. I've gotten them fixed so they cannot reproduce. If they're sick, I take them to the emergency room and get them treated. Obviously, my wife helps tremendously with that. Couldn't do it without her. But the reason why I have to do it, or I choose to do it, I can't say have to, I choose to do it, is most people think the solution is to just let them rot and die and starve to death. Well, if you don't get them fixed, what do? They keep reproducing. And what does that do? Create more of the problem. So by you not trying to deal with it because it's too difficult or it's too inconvenient or I don't want to have to go out of my way for something that's not my problem, it becomes exponentially worse and worse. One cat here, before we finally caught her and got her fixed, had 15 kittens in the span of 8 months. 15 kittens in the span of 8 months. Now just imagine if I didn't get those kittens fixed and I didn't get her fixed, how many more would be in the neighborhood? So you want to fix a problem, whatever it is, you have to be a part of it. You cannot look the other way. You cannot wait for somebody else. It's like hundreds of people on hundreds of different Titanic ships. One starts sinking. And the others say, well, I'm sure glad I'm not on that boat. And they're all screaming, help us, help us. And we say, well, I don't want to get wet. It's too cold. Or I could end up getting hurt. Sorry, I'll pray for you and I'll think about you and I'll give you tributes after you die, but I can't do anything. And that ship goes down, nobody saves them. Next ship starts sinking. The people on that boat, help us. We need to be saved. And all the other people, oh, I'm sorry, it's just too cold. I just can't do it. Or I'm too busy. Or, I got to go to work. Or, I don't want to get wet. Or I'm afraid of the water. Or I can't swim. That ship goes down. And one after one after one sinks until there's only one boat left. And that boat starts sinking. And you're all like, well, who's here to save us now? Well, if everybody would have saved that first boat, they could have prevented everything else possibly from happening. But because most people choose to look the other way and don't want to be bothered, or it's not my problem, or I'm just doing my job, well, you're creating your own sinking ship. And eventually, all the people you didn't save will no longer be there to save you when it comes to you. There is no honor amongst thieves. And you could see, as things get progressively worse and worse, people to protect their own skin will sell out other people that they once called friend or ally or business partner. You could be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history just based on whether you have actions or inaction. I choose to help because it's not the easiest thing for me to do. It is not the financially beneficial thing for me to do. I do what I do because it's the right thing to do. And even on this channel, I was criticized heavily for things I believed in. The whole war started when I said I did not believe... I don't even think... Well, it doesn't matter. That Mylars were the best purchase of your money. Mylars are better than regular bags, obviously. But it would take thousands of years for a Mylar to deteriorate, and maybe 50 years for a regular bag if you stored them properly to deteriorate. But the comic inside the Mylar will be long gone and turned to dust before that Mylar ever has any visible signs of deterioration. So how does that help you? Unless you're going to live a couple of thousand years. See, these are pieces of paper. They will not last forever. Somebody show me the average book from 1,000 years ago. How many of them are out there? There are some, but they were, put in. There's a reason why for thousands of years people use things like clay tablets, because when you carve into a mountain or you carve into stone, it tends to last a very long time, and even those can be subject to the elements. So why would you spend your money that is sometimes 5 times the amount on a bag that is going to last longer than the comic inside it? And if you do not store them properly, it does not matter what you put them in. Because, for example, Mylars, they are not oxygen proof. Microscopic organisms can get in there and destroy your comic over time. So all I suggested at that time is, I wasn't saying they weren't bad, but what I'm saying is the companies and the people that backed up, that got paid to promote those things, are misleading you into spending 3 to 5 times the amount of money on something that is basically not going to help your comic other than make it look shinier, so you could sell it misleadingly to people on eBay and say, look how good that cover is, when the gloss is not coming from the cover, it's coming from the Mylar. That's being dishonest. And I showed time and time again books that I bought back in the 80s and 90s when I was collecting that were still in the original cheap backing board and cheap polybag from the day I bought it, and they were perfectly fine. And I got murdered for that by the community. But I will stand by it now as I did back then. See, when you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Go back to videos I've talked about that. I think it was, actually, most of it might have been from my original channel that I shut down because I was getting bullied, and the reason I shut it down is a bunch of people, and I was doing live streams, and I was having 800 to 1,000 people watching my videos during a live stream. Right now there's 10, and I appreciate the 10 that are here. But at one point in my highlight, I had 800 to 1,000 people watching my live stream, and the people that were on my live stream who I thought were friends, one day all stabbed me in the back, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I shut down my channel. But I remained true to who I am, and I promise you, taking the right road is not always taking the high road. There will be many things that will become very difficult in your life. There'll be many people who are the sheep, who will listen to what others say to make them feel scared or just comfortable enough to survive, that will ridicule you for, God forbid, or Allah forbid, or Cabbage Patch forgive, whatever you worship, to having a difference of opinion. If you like rants, you got a good one. 6 people like this. Obviously, I'm not here for the ad revenue. Obviously, I'm not here for the thousands of viewers or the likes, because 6 ain't going to do nothing. But 6 are appreciated because they were 6 people that cared enough to do it, knowing it's not going to affect me in any way. That just means they're kind. Sorry. Spam call. So, when it comes to life, when you ignore the things that are going on, it makes them worse. Think of it this way. Let's say you own a property. Your backyard. You refuse to mow the lawn. You refuse to trim the hedges. You refuse to cut back the trees. Trim them a little bit. What do you think's going to happen to your backyard in a year? In 5 years? In 10 years? If everything just grows completely out of control? When you ignore things, it can become chaotic. Now, you could cut your grass once a week, every week, for 50 years and say, okay, I cut my lawn every week for 50 years. I'm done. I spent a 10th of my life keeping my lawn looking beautiful. I think 50 years is enough. I don't want to do it. Well, what happens the year you stop? So, for things to be beautiful, successful, in harmony, in balance, it is forever maintenance. You could not work out for 50 years straight and then all of a sudden say, well, I worked out for 50 years, I don't have to do it anymore, and go back to eating bonbons and ice cream and popcorn and sitting on your butt all day, because the next year you'll be right back where you started that took you 50 years to get away from. It's a constant. It's forever. And that means a lot of work. And that means a lot of people refuse to do it. And let me tell you, I've had my ups and downs. The past 2 years when I lost my flea market business, and being here for 3 years, have no friends, and none of my family is here because during the pandemic for 2 years, people were afraid to go near each other. So people didn't want to, invite you over to their house or everything. I got very depressed. And I still have my moments. But you know what? I will forever be successful. I will always be a kid at heart. I will always succeed. And that's why I buy a book for $39 and it will probably end up being a $500, $600 book. I bought this for $17.50. If it comes back at 9.8 and the Wolverine movie comes out, I probably make $2 to $3 grand on it. Because I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to see what the future is going to bring. I'm willing to take the time, regardless of how crazy somebody says, oh, you are crazy to spend $17 on that book. Then maybe, but not now. I mean, I see videos that were posted this week, and I'm not going to name call any channel, but talking about how now is a good time to buy Ultimate Fallout 4. Now, they've talked about other comics, but I'm just making that one as an example. People are saying now is the best time to buy Ultimate Fallout 4. I was telling people back in 2016, 2017, buy Ultimate Fallout 4, $10 to $14 a piece. No one wanted them. And was it worth a lot at that point? No, they were worth $10 to $14 at that time. But I knew where Disney was going. I was listening to the people that were giving me the information. I saw the route that it was going, and I said that book is going to be a no-brainer book. And look at that book now. A 9.8 of that book, even with a 25 to 30 degree drop because of the high point of the movies and everything during in 2021, that book, a 9.8, is still going to cost you over $2 grand. I bought mine on it between $10 and $14 a piece. Now, granted, only one of them has come back so far as a 9.8, but even at a 9.0, that's still a $200, $300, $400 book. Paid $10 for it. The idea is to stop thinking like everybody else. Stop doing everything that everybody else does. There's a reason why the amount of people that make over $500,000 a year in the world is less than 1%. The amount of people around the world that make over $100,000 a year is about 10%. There's a reason why most of the world will not succeed. Because 10% of the population will work hard enough to make $100,000 a year. 1% of the population around the world will make over $500,000 a year. Which means the majority of people in this world will not ever do what it takes because maybe it's too hard, or they've failed before, or nobody says I can do it, or I don't believe in myself. Why are you following people that are always saying the glass is half empty? I have been down, but I am never going to be out. I've had my moments, but they're only moments. Sometimes I feel bad for my wife having to deal with some of the emotional roller coasters I've had throughout the time of us being together. And we're going strong for going on 12 years now. You are whatever you want to be. But the world is trying to convince you to be something that maybe you might not agree with. If everybody becomes a singularity, then there is no reason for more than one. Because if everybody looks the same, acts the same, thinks the same, eats the same, drinks the same, plays the same, talks the same, thinks the same, what is the purpose of having more than one of that thing? Most people don't have more than one cell phone. What would be the purpose of owning and paying for 100 cell phones when they all do the same thing? It would serve no purpose. So the world is trying to convince everybody to look the same, act the same, be the same, think the same, talk the same, pray the same. What's the purpose of you? Makes no sense. All right, I have a window that's falling apart in my house. We're going to have somebody that's about to come and give us an estimate of how many thousands of dollars it's going to cost. So I do have to go. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. 7 people liked it, so 1 extra person was inspired by my rant. If you're one of those people that watches this afterwards, if you want to hit a like button, that's great. If not, that's great as well. Thank you to PGX. I'll